Yay! Hello, hello, hello. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. Yes. I am so excited and so lit up. So lit up to share the divine design with all of you guys. Finally beginning to share this book, talk about this book, go into this movie that you are in, this video game that we are in, called Earth, called humaning, called the divine design, and starting to remember more and more why you're here, who you are, why you're here, how you got here, how the earth was created. It wasn't some massive explosion that happened like the Big Bang. This is too perfect of an experience for it to just be this big bang and then there's just energy expanding and expanding. No, 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 no. We are in an absolute design. And I am really excited to share this series with you guys. So we are going to do at least 6 episodes. Most likely, I will continue to add more and more because there is so much in this book. I was just taking notes literally just for the first episode and just to kind of start dissecting. I just got massive ringing in my ears. Trying to take notes to just talk about like the first chapter of this book, and it's like, where do I start? What am I gonna, like, there's so much to talk about. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. And if you've read the book, thank you. If you've listened to the book, thank you. If you've tried to listen to the book, thank you. If you've tried to read the book, thank you. All the ways in which you can get the divine design is in the description down below. And by all means, take your book out as we read through it. This is a book that I truly believe is like one of the Bibles of the humanity's Bible of remembering um, the history of Earth, our history. Earth didn't just arrive. It didn't just burst out as a star, or I don't even know what people think, right? It's not. It was divinely designed. It was created from higher dimensional consciousnesses. It was created in the quantum field. It has a consciousness in it, just like your body has a consciousness in it, right? The human body was divinely orchestrated and designed by higher dimensional consciousnesses. It didn't come from some like, tadpole in the ocean. No, it was divinely designed specifically to hold consciousness and to evolve. Right? Everything is so miraculous in there is a perfection in all of it. So today we're going to be talking about the origins of how this all got started. And it's pouring rain right now. It just started pouring rain. Oof, I love it. We're going to talk about the earth and her experiment and what she chose. We're going to talk about how consciousness split from source. We're going to talk about how evolution actually happens in the body, the 4 steps. We're going to talk about why Earth chose 5D. We're going to talk about how the actual physical Earth was created. We're going to talk about I think it's really important to describe and talk about why the sun was created. So everything was created. Sun was created, moon was created, planets were created, stars were created. Everything you see with your physical eyes was created. It's not just, oh, look, all these stars are here. Stars were specifically designed to hold consciousness, right? Planets were specifically designed to hold consciousness. Everything has an absolute divine design to it. Why we created the sun, or why the sun was created. And then I'm going to talk about the 4 universal laws and the 8 micro quantum universal laws. I think it's important to talk about these laws. And the one law that I really think is important right now is the light quotient, because it's really important to remember how you're actually in the physical form. Okay, so also the other 5 episodes that we have coming up every Thursday at 2 p.m. we have episode 2 is how humanity fell from the 5th dimensional field to the 3rd dimensional field, because there was a fall from grace, there was a fall down. Third episode is your DNA is magic mushrooms. So really starting to understand DNA, right? From a very, very elementary uh, like concept, like really grasping and understanding how DNA works. It's so, so important. How does DNA activate? How is it actually light codes, etc. The 4th episode is the truth about reptilians and our history with the galactic beings. It's just part of it's who we are, all the galactic beings, all the interdimensional races, all the higher dimensional races, the reptilians, all of it. Like what's the history of humanity with these beings? And it's just something common, like anything else, but we make it into this like, oh my god, it's very, very, very when you have the memories within your cells that start to activate, it's no big deal. And number 6, the last oh wait, no, number 5 is the Akashic record, karma, ancestral lines, like really starting to remember your Akashic record, how you chose it, how it works. And then episode 6 is 3D, 5D, 7D, because actually Earth and humanity are designed to move into a 7th dimensional field. Okay, so let's just get going, because I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm going to try to squeeze this into an hour, but pretty sure it's going to go longer. And I will do my best to also answer a couple questions. There's so many questions about this book. So without further ado, let's get going with where it all began. Where it all began. First of all, this book, many of you know, was downloaded. I downloaded it, which means it was information that came down into my body in October of 2018 when I was in Machu Picchu. It literally was dropped in. I had no idea of any of this information. I didn't research it. This is not a book that was researched. I did not go and listen to other people. I didn't try to make sure that my information was correct. It literally was dropped in from the Galactic Federation of Light, which is a group of higher dimensional consciousnesses that exist in higher dimensional. I want to quickly describe why this book was written. So the divine design was written to remind you of how it all began, why you are in your physical form, and the divine orchestration of it all, so that you can begin to remember that nothing is chance. You are a divine design within a larger divine design. You are awakening to the massive experiment that Earth intended and that you agree to take a part in now. So let's first talk about Earth's experience, because this all stems from Earth as a consciousness that chose this. We didn't choose this experience. We chose it as consciousness after Earth created the experiment. Okay, so first, let's talk about how consciousness is created. Like, how are you a consciousness? How do you exist? How do you have awareness? So consciousness is an energy. And consciousness as an energy is experienced outside of source. So it's a unique individual expression of source. You can call source God, you can call source the pulse, whatever. It's the start and end of everything. It's oneness. But if you can visualize it as the beginning point, okay, And as source or as God, the only way that it can experience itself is through separation or individuation. Otherwise, it just is this one breathing pulse of oneness. The only way that it can experience itself is by splitting itself off, and each unique expression of source goes and has its own experience in the quantum field. That's how consciousness experiences itself, or source experiences itself. So we are all individual expressions having our own unique experience as consciousness, holding an aspect of source or God, because we all came from that. We literally, physics wise, source spit us out as unique expressions. And we were spit out. So each individual expression is like a spark of light went out from source. And that spark of light is an individuated consciousness, you, and it's pushed out into a quantum field. A quantum field is a field, it's where everything exists. Everything that ever could be imagined, is imagined, will be imagined, meaning experienced, felt, seen and unseen, everything. It's infinite. It's where creation resides, in the quantum field. Now, as a spark of consciousness, you're a light, okay? You start off as a light, and you're floating, let's just say, in terms of a metaphor to understand this, you're floating in the quantum field as light. And in the quantum field, every dimensional field can be experienced, and a dimensional field is where you reside as an energy. So every energy that splits from source is in some sort of dimensional field, which is based on its frequency. Okay? So when consciousness splits, it moves into a quantum field. It's then in a field with infinite possibility and an infinite amount of dimensional fields. Every dimensional field offers experience, and whatever dimensional field you are in, energy is in, is based on its frequency. Okay. And the moment you split from consciousness, you have free will. You begin to create, you begin to choose. All right. And hopefully you're with me here. And when you split from from source as source or God, and your unique individual expression now floating around, you understand how the quantum field works. You understand that your energy in an energetic field. And when you intend to speed up your frequency or slow down your frequency, that will create what in and out by increasing it or decreasing it. Okay. When you increase a frequency as a consciousness, you go into higher dimensional fields. The higher a dimensional field, the less experience you're going to have. So it shortens the type of experiences. That's why God or source wanted to individuate itself so that it could have all kinds of experiences. Because when you are in a super, super high frequency state, you're just light, you're just vibrating love. You're just in this blissful state. There's very little you're experiencing other than bliss because the frequency is so high. When you spin your energy, when you lower your frequency by slowing your frequency down as light, you start to move into lower dimensional fields, and the lower a dimensional field, the more you're able to experience. The experiences expand. Okay? So, consciousness is energy. Energy spins. The spinning of energy creates a frequency that produces a vibrational tone. The frequency dictates the dimension the consciousness is experiencing. The dimension establishes how consciousness experiences itself. A dimension holds a spectrum of consciousness to be experienced within it. A spectrum of consciousness is the available experiences that can be accessed. So the higher in the dimensional field, the smaller the range of consciousness. The lower in the dimensional field, the larger the spectrum of consciousness and the more experiences you'll have. So, as Source began splitting itself into unique consciousnesses, these energetic expressions of Source, you, began to play within a quantum field. The quantum field being an energetic space allowing for infinite possibilities of expression through frequency, spinning of your energy, and dimension. All consciousnesses that split from Source exist in the quantum field. So every experience that will ever be had, has been had, will be had is in the quantum field. Okay, so what does this have anything to do with the experiment and experience of Earth and you? Earth, the consciousness of Earth, right? There's a link down below to get the book. The consciousness that we call Earth. So there's two Earths expressions, right? There's the Earth's body, the planetary body, and then there is Earth as a consciousness. Earth as a consciousness split from Source and became a unique expression vibrating out into the quantum field, just like you and I. So Earth as a consciousness is just like you and I as consciousness. She's no different. Okay. And we have free will and we get to choose what we want to experience in the quantum field. It can literally be looked like a huge arcade. All right. Earth as a consciousness, knowing how the quantum field works, said to herself, all right, I'm going to get creative here. What I want to do as consciousness is I want to move myself. Now, remember, the higher in dimensional field, the higher in frequency, the less experience you have. The lower in dimensional field, the lower in frequency, and the more experience you have. Earth said to herself, I want to move my consciousness down into a fifth dimensional frequency and into a fifth dimensional field. And I want to move my consciousness into a fifth dimensional body, physical form. So I want to take my consciousness, I want to move it into a fifth dimensional form, the planetary body, and I want to watch and intend and create this fifth dimensional form to move into higher dimensional fields while I'm inside of it. This will be so much fun. I cannot wait. I wonder if I can even do this, right? And all these other consciousnesses that are connected to Earth's consciousness had to participate and help out. And she decided to create an experiment. Can I, as consciousness, move myself down into a fifth dimensional physical form that's created? And can I sit in that fifth dimensional form with the intention of creating an experiment around me where that fifth dimensional form moves into a sixth dimensional field and then a seventh dimensional field? Let's try it out. Let's see what happens. That's literally what we're in. It's that simple and yet that complex. Every single thing that is seen, experienced, looked at, heard is a choice. It's a creation. Everything is choice. Everything is created through intention and energy. Nothing is an accident. Nothing is, oh my God, how did that happen? How did these things get created? Everything is created with an intention behind it. And everything is created through energy and intention. So Earth wanted to enter into a fifth dimensional form, the Earth plane, within a 5D field and experience shifting into a seventh dimensional field within the same form, within Earth, the planetary body. The Earth physical planet, the physical Earth planet, would shift frequencies and dimensions while the consciousness of Earth okay, the consciousness that Earth is, would experience that shift within the physical Earth planet. Okay? This has never been done before. Never been done. If a consciousness in the quantum field, if a consciousness wants to move from one dimensional field to the next, so if you as a consciousness, you're not in a physical body right now, if you're just in the quantum field floating around, okay, and you wanted to move from one dimensional field to the other, so let's say that you were in a sixth dimensional field experiencing those experiences that are held there, and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to go into a 12th dimensional field and experience that instead. You would literally just shift the frequency of your light and move yourself into that dimensional field. It's that easy, that simple, just like that. It's very, very different when you, as a consciousness, move yourself into a physical body. Very different, because now you're not in charge. You're handing yourself over to you're putting yourself into a body, and the body is shifting frequencies, not you. And that's the evolution in human consciousness. That's the evolution of this planet. That's what it means when people say we're going from 3D to 5D. You're not. The physical body and the physical planet is. You're a consciousness that chose to jump in and say, holy shit, I'm here for the ride. What made this experience so unique was that Earth, as a consciousness, would exist within a physical form, and the physical form would move her into higher dimensional fields. It was the planet that would shift, not Earth. And Earth would merely experience the shift through the physical form. This is the evolution in human consciousness. So it's profound to think about, right? But this is what she chose. And she chose to jump into a fifth dimensional field, not a seventh dimensional field, or not a third dimensional field. And the reason that she chose to move into a fifth dimensional field, and I'm going to read a little part of why she chose the fifth dimensional field. Because the fifth dimensional field allowed her to stay connected to the higher aspects of herself. So she was able to stay aligned and connected to spirit, to source, to who she was, even though she was in a dense physical form. She was able to stay connected to her blueprint, like why she came into the physical planetary body. And she was able to stay connected to how the quantum field works. So when you're in a fifth dimensional field, okay, completely anchored into that field, you have absolute awareness of who you actually are, and you're living from that lens, very much like Jesus did, or other masters. Okay, their consciousness, they were inside of physical form, but they understood they were connected to God, or whatever you want to call it, source. They understood the blueprint, the why of being in the physical form, and they understood how the quantum field worked, how energy and creation, how all of it works. And so Earth knew that if she chose the fifth dimensional field, she would stay connected, and it would give her ease, right? Being in that fifth dimensional field. So it's the lowest field you can go in, 5D, before consciousness begins to have a dualistic or polarized experience. So when you move into 4D and you move into 3D, especially 3D, the vibration and frequency is so low, the dimensional field is spread out so thin that there is an experience of duality. There's an experience of polarity, right, wrong, good, bad, yes, no, fear, love. You get to really experience polarization. And there is amnesia. You forget. The density is so heavy that consciousness forgets. And Earth didn't want to forget. She wanted to know, she wanted to stay connected. So she chose 5D. She chose to go from 5D to 7D because 7D is the last dimensional field of physicality. So once you shift out of 7D and you start moving into 8D and beyond, you become strictly just this energetic plasma light. So there's not as much, there's not physicality any longer. Right? So she wanted to be in physicality. She wanted to see if frequency from light could shift her body into higher dimensional fields, giving her new ways of experiencing physicality while she was inside a body. Y'all with me so far? Okay. That's why she chose 5D. So the evolution with you. Okay, good. So the evolution in consciousness, which is what you're in right now. Let's talk about this for a second, okay? What she decided, why she, what this is, 5D to 7D, which is now 3D to 5D to 7D, okay? We'll talk about the fall into 3D, I think in episode 2. So, evolution is the process of energy moving from a lower frequency and dimensional field to the next highest frequency and dimensional field. It's very similar to driving a car. The earth and the human, which is your higher dimensional consciousness that's inside the human body, they're pushing on the gas, sort of like they're in the driver's seat. All right. But it's the car, the human body, and the planetary body that is speeding up and taking the human and earth for a ride. The physical form is what moves into the next highest dimensional field. It's the physical form that is moving into higher frequencies. It's the physical form that is shifting. You as consciousness does not shift. You are not evolving. Now, people will argue our souls are evolving. That's a different subject, and I don't believe that, but that's a different story and a different subject. Your soul is not evolving right now. Your soul is having an experience where it's inside a physical form that is evolving and shifting into higher frequencies so that it can give the soul new experiences. The only way you as soul can access higher dimensional states right now is if the body moves into higher frequencies. It's the body that's doing it. And everybody thinks that that they're doing it, that they're creating this evolution and this that they are enlightening themselves or awakening. Or no, it's actually simply the physical body increasing in frequency, and you're going along for the ride. So you're in the body and you're starting to experience this more and more. So here's how we do this. There are 4 steps to to evolution, to how evolution works. This is simply physics. This is how energy works in a physical form. The 4 steps, okay, is an acclimation process, assimilation, tapping into, and anchoring. So the first step of evolution, and by the way that your body moves into higher frequencies is energy that comes in from the sun. And the sun was created specifically for the experiment. Earth would not be able to have this experiment if it weren't for the sun. So the sun had to be created for this experiment and for this experience of evolution. And the sun is also a body, a physical form that has a consciousness inside it. Everything does. Every physical form you see has a consciousness inside it. That's how it works. Nothing's just physical in nature and empty. The moon isn't empty. There's a consciousness inside every single form you see. And so the sun's light, there are 2 types of light that come from the sun, right? And there is a specific type of light that comes from the sun that enters into the physical body that creates the evolution. So the first step is acclimation. So the physical form continuously receives high frequency light from the sun And as the light enters the form, it begins to acclimate it. The body acclimates the energy. Acclimation occurs when the physical form slows down the high frequency light so that it can receive it into the body. So all this high frequency light comes in and the body has to acclimate to it. So it has to take it and slow it down a little bit. If the frequency of the light is too high, the body won't be able to access the light and use it to shift into higher frequencies. The light will dissolve from the body. If the body acclimates, it will settle into the physical form. So it will start to shift the physical form. The body has to acclimate it. So it has to take the high frequency energy and sort of slow that energy down so it can settle itself into the physical body so that it can start to shift the physical form. That's the first step, acclimation. Second step is assimilation. Assimilation is once the physical form acclimates to light, so it starts to be able to process the high frequency light, the body begins to assimilate it. Okay, now assimilation occurs when the physical form integrates the higher frequency light into the lower frequency light within the body, which is what's happening to all of us right now, is assimilation. The higher frequency light will then either push out the density or lower frequency light out of the body, which is emotions. Lower density light typically is the emotions that are stored in the body, trauma. Or it will merge the denser light into the higher frequency light. So the higher frequency light will come in and kind of merge into that denser light, and the denser light will sort of dissolve with the high frequency light. So it's an integration. But a lot of what we're feeling right now is assimilation, which is the high frequency light coming in and pushing out the density. This is simply, quite simply physics. It's not complicated. And if you're tapping into what you're experiencing right now, your body is acclimating all day long and your body is assimilating all day long. And how do you know? You're probably feeling more and more and more. Feeling emotions is assimilation, high frequency light coming in, pushing out the density. The density is the stored heavy emotions and trauma and programming. So what happens is the physical form begins to increase its frequency as the lower density is moved out of the form or is integrated into the higher light. And it's a great question, Amy, when Amy said, why are some affected by this and some aren't? If you are not aware, if that's the awakening, awakening is awareness. If you are not aware of what is happening, awareness is what creates the shift. And these moments of awakening and aha, that's why 2020 was so powerful, is because it literally jolted people into an awakening, a new state. Many times people will have a kundalini awakening, which is awakening them into a new state, a new way of seeing things. The lens opens. And they start to see, they start to feel, they start to hear. It's like all the numbing and like zombiness almost wake turns on. And that is necessary. That's why Earth chose 5D. Because if there's not an awareness of what's happening, energy just moves and nothing's happening in the body. It just is. It's like there's a leak in there's like a leak in a glass. Okay. And nothing happens. You pour the water in and it just leaks out. It's only when the human aspect, the human is aware of what's happening and starts to bring focus and attention to it, right, that this process begins to take shape. That's why awareness is so huge. That's why awakening is so important. And that's why you can look out and you're like, okay, I'm moving through all of this, but how come these other physical bodies aren't? Because they're so densely nummified, that it's like they're walking around and nothing is rattling them into the physical body so they can start experiencing this. There has to be a rattling into what's occurring, and it has to have that awareness. Awareness has to be a part of this. And what's going to happen more and more on this planet is there's going to be things that are going to happen in the external world that are going to awaken humanity, jolt them over and over again. You're already awake. And so then it's just a process of continuing to awaken more and more into new states of being, new awarenesses, blah, blah, blah. But it's like there's a heavy, dense coat on most humans, and they can't feel much. They're not aware of much, right? Everything seems okay. But the whole planet is shifting. Every single human body is designed to shift. So eventually, most of humanity will wake up. Okay, so we did acclimation and assimilation. Those happen very naturally. Okay. Then there's the third thing that happens, tapping. Tapping is when you start to bring awareness into the next dimensional field, right? As the physical form holds more light, the human aspect, so your ego personality, starts to experience the next highest frequency and dimensional field. So right now, as an example, we're in the third dimension. As your body starts to acclimate and assimilate light, okay, it starts to increase in frequency. When your body starts to increase in frequency, your awareness, your ego personality persona, the part of you that experiences and goes out and does life, starts to tap into, this is unconscious, although maybe it'll become more conscious. You unconsciously begin to tap into, so here's a third dimensional field, here's a fourth dimensional field, here's a fifth dimensional field, sixth dimensional field. As you can only access what your body's vibrating at. So if your body is only vibrating in the third dimensional field, you will only be able to access third dimensional consciousnesses. It's just how it works. So as your body starts to increase in frequency and vibration, it starts to be able to access the next highest dimensional field, which gives you, your consciousness, more ways of being on the planet. So it starts to access the fourth dimensional field, which gives you more awareness of flow. It gives you more awareness of empowerment, that you're not a victim, right? It gives you more awareness of choice. It gives you more awareness of programming, of dependency. There's all these things that start to happen. And simply what's actually happening is that your body is increasing in frequency and your awareness is starting to tap into a fourth dimensional field. And then as the body starts increasing a little bit more, it starts to give you access to a fifth dimensional field, right? And then because the body is still very, very dense and heavy, it starts to move, it starts to vibrate its frequencies between a third and a fourth and a fifth dimensional field, sixth dimensional field. And you, as the human aspect that you think you are, begin to experience these new ways of being. So you start realizing that you're in like more of a flow state. You start realizing that you're more empowered. You start realizing that you're a soul. Maybe you start realizing that everything happens for a reason. You start realizing that there's oneness, that there is a connection between everything. You start realizing that there is duality and polarity, and beyond that is this neutral state where all is okay. There's all these things that you start experiencing, and what's happening is the stage 3 of evolution, which is tapping into other dimensional fields. Now, how do you know that you're tapping into it and not actually anchored into it? Because you're going up and down all over the place like a roller coaster. One moment you're completely content and happy and in flow, and the next you're in resistance and fear and anxiety, not trusting. One minute you're in complete trust with everything and you're just like all is well, and the next minute you're like, Jesus Christ, am I going to get through this? That's tapping into other dimensional fields while your body is still anchored in the third dimension. Step 4, anchoring. Anchoring is, so I'll read this. As the physical form continues to acclimate and assimilate more light, tapping into the next dimensional field, the physical form will anchor into that field. So the physical form has to hold 80% of the frequency of that dimensional field to anchor into the next dimensional field. And once the body is anchored into the dimensional field, a new one, the fourth dimension and eventually the fifth dimension, it will physically stand in that field. Physically, it will be standing in a fourth dimensional field. Now, you're not going to see this. It's not like there's going to be a gate that says your body is now standing and anchoring in the fourth dimension. There's not going to be a door that says you are now anchored and standing in a fifth dimensional field. But your entire world is going to be seen through the lens of that dimensional field. That's the awakening. So for instance, your body has to hold 80% or more of that dimensional field. So fourth dimensional fields have a much higher frequency than a third dimensional field. So your body has to hold those frequencies. 80% of the body has to hold what you would call a fourth dimensional frequency. And as it does that, it starts anchoring and eventually it stands in a fourth dimensional field. And then it starts to anchor in the fifth dimensional field by anchoring 80% of that fifth dimensional frequency. Okay. So for instance, let's say your body is at nothing changes in the physical world. Anita, nothing. So two people walk outside or two people have the same experience and one person's body is vibrating at 472, let's say. So let's say that 300 is the lowest frequency the body holds. This isn't the actual number, okay? But on the third dimension, it goes from 300 to 399, okay? The body anchors that. Then the body starts to anchor 400 to 499. That's the fourth dimensional field. Your body anchors that. It has to anchor that frequency. And then it goes from 500 to 599. Let's just throw that out there as a way of an analogy to understand this, okay? And as the body acclimates, assimilates, taps, and starts to anchor, the body starts to move into 301, 320, 350, 370, 380. And as the body increases in frequency, you as the human awareness begin to be in new ways. Okay. And when it is anchored, when it holds 80% of the frequency of 400, let's say 401, 402, then you as the human are now, your body has now anchored into a fourth dimensional field, which means that when you look out in the world, when you experience the world, you're going to be seeing it through the lens of a fourth dimensional field. When your body gets to 470, 480, you're going to be tapping so deeply into a fifth dimensional field, right? You're going to start living in that fifth dimensional field more and more, new ways of being, over and more and more and more and more and more and more. And eventually your body, as it increases in frequency and acclimates, assimilates, and taps into and holds that frequency, it's going to move into slowly evolution, shifting into 501. Boom. Your body has anchored 80% of its frequency is at 501. 20% is still dragging itself, right? So you've got 80% at 501, you've got 10% at 480, and you've got, 10% at 410 or something. I don't know. It's just the frequency does this, okay? Once the body has physically anchored 501 frequency, then when you look out into the world, you're being in those fifth dimensional frequencies and ways of being. So two human bodies stand here. Okay. This body is still anchored in 372. This body is anchored in 462. Okay. So this human body is going to see through the lens of the third dimensional field because it's still anchored there. Maybe it taps into the fourth dimensional field every once in a while, but the majority of its lens throughout the day is third dimensional. Big deal. Who cares? This body's at 472. So its lens is in a fourth dimensional field. You can't choose this, by the way. This is the body doing it. The body's doing this. You're just along for the ride. And you're noticing new ways of being. And so two people walk out, or two people have the same experience. One's in a third dimensional field, one's in a fourth dimensional field. And let's just say there's one over here in a fifth dimensional field that's actually anchored into 5D. So their body is vibrating at 501 or something, 502. All three people, boom, 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 walk out into the world and have the same experience. Let's say they get hit by a car, or they get into a car accident. The third dimensional person is going to freak out and be in anxiety, go into a future and try to figure out who did it, get their insurance, make sure that they, whatever. They're going to it's not my fault, it's your fault or whatever that is, okay? So there's a fear, an anxiousness, whatever. Fourth dimensional human is going to be like, wow, that was interesting. Holy shit, what's going to happen? So there's an awareness that there's something happening, but it still falls into a little bit of fear and anxiety and futurizing, right? But it's also aware that everything may just be perfect and okay, but it can't quite trust yet. So it falls back into fear and anxiety. Maybe it gets into a little bit of an argument with the person, but it's still capable of seeing that everything is perfect and that this is all okay. This is okay, right? And you try to open yourself. This person's opening itself to acceptance and surrendering into and holding compassion, blah, blah, blah. Now, the fifth dimensional person is at complete ease, is not rattled, no stress, no anxiety, no worry. Just, I wonder what's going to happen here. I wonder who I'm going to meet. I wonder how I'm going to be able to impact them. I wonder how I'm going to be able to serve in this way. It's not necessarily a choice. It's just the natural state of being when your body has anchored these frequencies. Now, when you're in a third dimensional field and you're tapping into the fourth and fifth dimensional fields, when you have this experience of a car accident, because your body's holding frequencies that are closer to a fourth dimension and also tapping into the fifth dimension, you'll know that you have a choice in how you're going to be, perhaps. But it's not going to necessarily be a natural knee-jerk reaction, right? The knee-jerk reaction is always the dimensional field the body's anchored in. Now, it's really important to state this right now. There is no bad. There is no, oh my God, I'm in a third dimension. Oh my God, I'm only in the fourth dimension. Oh my God, I really wish I was in the fifth dimension. All this comparison bullshit. This life is the experience. Life is the experiment. It is the dimensional fields. It's all beautiful and perfect. That's why you incarnated, right? You incarnated to go through this evolutionary process. You incarnated to do this. You incarnated to be an impact in it. You incarnated to go first and to say, this is what we're doing here. This is why we are in a physical form. This is why I'm feeling more and more. Holy shit, I remember now, right? Oh my God, this is how dimensional fields work. Wow, I'm really not in control. This truly is physics. Yeah, it's truly physics. It's truly just energy. Wow, I'm actually just a consciousness that chose to be in a physical form. And in this physical form is moving through these different dimensional fields, acclimating, assimilating, tapping, and anchoring. Holy cow. And if you don't believe me, start paying attention to your life. And I guarantee you, what I'm saying right now is a reflection of what you're experiencing. But we want to find all these kind of deeper reasons for everything. The healing process is the acclimation and assimilation of the body, right? And wanting to be in this fifth dimensional field is only creating suffering. The you that you think you are can't get there. The body takes you there. How do you get there? You just show up for what is. You show up over and over again. I could go into this for a long time, but we won't, because we have more to talk about in this chapter. Okay. All right. So much information. Whew. Are you guys with me on those 4 steps? Acclimate, assimilate, tapping, and anchoring. Y'all got that, evolution? Okay. Now, let's go back to the experiment, okay? I want to quickly talk about how Earth was created, how her physical form was created, because everything is created this way. The sun was created this way. Planets were created this way. The moon was created this way. Your physical body was created this way. Trees were created this way. Animals were created this way. Everything that has a consciousness in it was created this way. Okay. And all right, so here is how the earth was created, the physical body was created, and essentially how everything is created. Okay. And earth was created by higher dimensional consciousnesses. So again, when earth came out and said, I want to have this experiment, it needed help or assistance from other higher dimensional consciousnesses. And so it was like there's this conversation that happened. Who wants to help me? And then these higher dimensional consciousnesses that were also light in the quantum field, existing in some sort of dimensional field, said, I'll help, I'll help, I'll help. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. Right? This will be so fun. I'll come in and help you. So the what we now call the Galactic Federation of Light, which is just a group of higher dimensional consciousnesses, assisted Earth in creating this experiment. Okay. So it may be challenging to conceptualize how a planet is created instantaneously. This is going to blow your mind and be very difficult to understand, but just this in your DNA. So stay with me. It may be challenging to conceptualize how a planet, also a physical form, is created instantaneously through intent and energy. Yet, everything in the quantum field is created in this way. Everything is created this way. So, when we intend to create a physical form from energy, first we must see it. So, there has to be some sort of visualization of what it's going to physically look like. We have to feel it. So, we have to feel into what it's going to feel like. What is the earth going to feel like? And we have to understand its frequency. We have to know what frequency we're creating in. All right. When creating the planet, we use the energy of our own vibration. So the Galactic Federation of Light, their vibration, their frequency at that time, they had to use their frequency because that's what they had access to. And so they were in a 12th dimensional frequency. We had to use the energy of our vibration, the 12th dimension, and we intended that energy. We took that energy that we had access to, and we moved it into a planetary form within the lower dimensional field. Let me read this again. When creating the planet, we use the energy of our own vibration, the 12th dimension, and we intend that energy into a planetary form within the lower dimensional field, the 5th dimension. Creation can only occur within the dimensional field one is standing in. Therefore, we created all forms, including the earth plane, from the 12th dimensional energy. So you can only create, I hope this makes sense, you can only create based on the frequency that you're in. That's why manifestation can take a long time in the 3rd dimension, because you are literally creating from a 3rd dimensional frequency, which is physical form. And so you're trying to create instantaneously from a very dense physical reality where there is a time-space continuum, which is why it can take a while. Now, when you're in a 12th dimensional field and you have to create from that field, it can happen instantaneous because you're energetic. There's no physicality that's standing in the way. There's no density. There's no slowing down. Okay? The energy we are alchemizing into the 5D exists in what are called light codes. These codes hold the intention of what we are creating, the 5D physical form, the 5D physical planet. So the energy that they are alchemizing into a physical form is called light codes. So we intend the vision of the physical form. They take the vision of the physical form and they move it into the 12th dimensional light code. So these light codes hold the vision, the physical vision of the form. They do that through telepathy and energy. So all of a sudden, there is this energetic, telepathic understanding that energy from the 12th dimension is created instantaneously in light codes directly in front of them, so to speak. And it holds the physical creation, how they see it. The light codes hold the physical creation. You can imagine this, they say, as circles of light. Okay, there's all these circles of light that are light codes swirling in front of you. And with your intention and visualization, you intend the light to hold the form you are creating. We energetically infused the light codes with the intended physical form, the planet. The codes, the light codes, held the physical intention energetically. We then slowed the energy of the light codes down from a 12D frequency to a 5D frequency. So they took those light codes that held the intention, that held the physical form, that held it, and they slowed the frequency down. They moved it into a 5D frequency, a 5D field. And as the light codes slowed down, decreased, that's how you create form, they began to form the intent held within the 12D light codes. The light within the codes alchemized into a denser, crystallized matter, creating the intended form. They are the Galactic Federation of Light. And babies are created in almost the exact same way. The codes automatically shifted into the physical form because they held the intention of the form within their light. The form is created when the energy is slowed down. Intention and energy is how you create everything. It's literally what you are taught when you're manifesting. You intend something, right? And then your body supposedly has to match the frequency of what you're intending. So you have to feel the abundance. You have to feel yourself in the job, right? You have to see yourself in the job. How is this any different? It's the same thing. You have to see yourself in the relationship. You have to feel yourself in the relationship. Why are you doing that? Because when you feel and when you see yourself in it, you're bringing your frequency to that intention. When you bring your frequency to that intention, you physically create it. The 5D planet. So this is nothing, this isn't miraculous. We're just doing it the opposite way. The 5D planet became a crystalline physical structure. What began as an intention in the 12th dimension turned into a physical form in the 5th dimension, just like that. The design of her form was always to allow her to shift into a 7D field. We knew that whatever we created needed to be able to sustain a 7D field, a form that holds less density and allows an easier transition shifting into light. This is how everything is created. This is how they created everything, them being the Galactic Federation of Light. And people can have their own opinions, and there's all kinds of information out about them. So take this with a grain of salt, but that is how creation is designed. That's how the planet was designed. That's how the physical body was designed. So the physical body was designed in the same way. These higher dimensional consciousnesses took an intention. They saw how the physical body needed to be. Okay. And they took light codes from their dimension, the 12th dimension. So here's these light codes. They infused telepathically the intention of this physical form. They saw the physical form. They infused it into the light codes. Why do you think everyone talks about light codes? Does anybody actually know why they're saying light codes? Right? Where did light codes come from? What do you mean light codes shift? Light codes came from the 12th dimensional frequency, from these 12th dimensional consciousnesses, and they hold the information. They hold knowledge. They hold the DNA. They're what create the physical form. That's why DNA shifts, is because it's light codes. It's designed to shift. So these 12th dimensional consciousnesses took these light codes in the 12th dimension and they infused it with the intention of a physical form, and they saw the physical form, and instantaneously they shifted the 12th dimensional light codes down into a fifth dimensional frequency, and just like that, overnight, within a minute, within an instant, the physical body was created. The physical body wasn't created like in some lab somewhere. Physical body wasn't created, didn't come from tadpoles. The physical body is a divine design. The planet is a divine design. It is divinely designed to be able to hold consciousness and to be able to shift into higher dimensional frequencies. Yes, they come from source. All frequencies, all higher dimensional consciousnesses come from source. Even there's races. Higher dimensional consciousnesses created races. Races being like the Greys. There's certain races. There's fourth dimensional races that were created by higher dimensional consciousnesses, but they have the higher dimensional consciousness in them. So essentially they are connected to source. So yeah, I mean, everything basically that's designed in this experiment and outside of this experiment has some sort of essence of source in it, even if it was created by other higher dimensional consciousnesses. Everything is interconnected. Okay. I haven't even begun to talk about the 12th dimensional grid. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay. We're already into an hour. So we higher dimensional and decided to play and dance in this lower dimension. Yes. Okay. So let's go into who we are, because I could talk. Okay. So who we are as consciousness. Thanks, Susie, for bringing me into who are we. Once the earth was created, once the planet was created, and once the sun was created, so the sun had to be created, the water was created, the trees were created, all kinds of stuff was created in the fifth dimension. Everything was created in the fifth dimension. The planet lived in the fifth dimension. Humanity lived in the fifth dimension for millions of years. So once the earth was created, once the human body was created, and the human body was created in such a divine way. There's a channel, and there is a soul, and there are subtle bodies that process emotion and thought, and I don't even have time to get into that. But there was a call that went out once everything was arranged and set up, and it's all set up in a 12th dimensional grid. Okay. So there's a 12th dimensional grid right now that's around this entire planetary experience. Every single thing that has ever been experienced, ever will be experienced, and ever is experienced on the planet. So anything you look out at, all the galaxies, the solar systems, all of that is within a 12th dimensional grid. Everything is held within this experiment. Now, when you go outside the 12th dimensional grid, there's an infinite amount of possibility as well. There's all kinds of higher dimensional beings and all kinds of everything exists outside the 12th dimensional grid as well. But what you are seeing and hearing and reading and learning about and accessing and anything experienced in the past and in the future on this planet is held within a 12th dimensional grid. It's held inside a grid, everything. This idea of galaxies and solar systems and universes, all of that is held inside a 12th dimensional grid. We are literally inside a game. And then we're inside a game, right? It's all held perfectly inside a 12th dimensional grid. So once this 12th dimensional grid was set up, and it's held in a 12th dimensional grid to keep this experiment and experience contained, because the quantum field is wild. It's the wild, wild west. Like anything can be experienced. There's free will. So consciousness can just create whatever it wants, right? And so and by the way, What you think of when you look out and say, "Oh my god, there's so many galaxies and solar systems and universes," that's just one small snippet of the quantum field. This 12th dimensional grid in which you look out as consciousness in a physical form and say, "Oh my god, we're massive, we're magnificent. There's so many different uh, wars going on in different solar systems and galactic beings doing this and that." That's simply just held in a 12th dimensional grid. There is so much more beyond it. That's just one story inside a 12th dimensional grid. And so once everything was set up, there was a call that went out, an energetic call into the quantum field. And again, any consciousness that splits from source is inside the quantum field. So there was this call that went out. Um, and the call was we created this experiment and this experience. There are physical bodies that can be created and designed, and consciousness can be inside them. And consciousness can jump into the physical form and have an experience. And this experience is going to be really cool because you're going to start experiencing yourself in a fifth dimensional form. And the purpose of this experiment and experience is to move into a sixth dimensional field and a seventh dimensional field. Right. And it's not so much a hologram because it is real. I mean, the earth is physical. It has a vibration and it's a physical form, but it's also just energy. I mean, it's created just from energy. So eventually it can just dissolve into energy. So is it a hologram? On one level, yeah, because it's simply just energy. But currently, right now, in this reality, is it physical? Yeah, it's physical. It's both. So a call was sent out, and consciousness had the opportunity to come into the 12th dimensional grid and to be able to move their consciousness, an aspect of their consciousness, into the physical form and experience this. And if you as a consciousness decided to do that, there were rules, there were universal laws, ways in which this all worked. Um, and one of the most fascinating, um, I was going to talk about the sun, but I'll just go right into this. One of the fascinating universal, kind of micro universal laws, these universal laws that are designed just for the earth. There's 8 of them. Well, let me go back. There are four quantum universal laws, and what this means is that when you split from source, there are laws in which energy works in that quantum field. So you pop out, and there are just these ways of being that every consciousness understands and experiences in the quantum field. The first is free will. All consciousness can create, design, and be in any frequency at any moment within the quantum field. Free will. When consciousness splits from source, it understands that it's free, and it can choose and create its experience at will in any moment. It's not tied or stuck in or with any experience. So that's free will. Number 2, all consciousness holds an aspect of source. So when consciousness splits from source, it holds within its frequency an aspect of source. You're always connected to source or God, whatever you want to call it. It contains the oneness that everything stems from and remains connected to it while in the quantum field. So you can almost see it as like ropes tied to God, to source, whatever. Universal law number 3 is that intent creates experience. Intention creates experience. Consciousness creates all experience through intent and energy. We were just talking about that. Energy creates a frequency that dictates the experience. Depending upon the frequency that you as consciousness is existing in, intent can manifest instantaneously or it can take some time. And when you're in a lower frequency, it takes time because you're in time. You're in a time-space continuum. When you're in a higher frequency, it can happen instantaneously. The slower the frequency of consciousness, the slower intent will manifest into an experience. All right. Universal law number 4 is that frequency dictates dimensional field. These are very kindergarten ways of explaining universal laws. But number 4 is that frequency will dictate your dimensional field, which dictates your experience. All consciousness holds a frequency, and that frequency allows the consciousness to reside in a specific dimensional field. If a consciousness wants to experience a lower or higher dimensional field, it must shift its frequency either up or down to match the frequency within that dimensional field. 4 universal laws. There's other laws, but they all stem back to those 4 laws. So there's laws that kind of stem out from there. But those are the 4 important laws that consciousness understands when it pops out. Now, there are 8 laws that are just tied to the experiment and experience of Earth. This is still the first chapter. Wait, are we on chapter 1 or chapter? Yeah, this is still the first chapter. I'm not kidding. There's so much, you guys. I think we're still on chapter 1. Yeah, we're still on chapter 1. But I got to get going. This is intense. There's so much. There's so much, so much, so much. This is chapter 1. Okay. I want to get to the light quotient though before we go. There are 8 laws that exist. They call them the microquantum 8 microquantum universal laws. These are laws created within the microquantum field, which I discuss later. And so these are universal laws that create this homeostasis within this experiment, within this when you pop into the earth and you pop into the 12th dimensional grid. We designed 8 laws within Earth's microquantum field that are still in place now and provide a framework for higher dimensional consciousnesses like you and I that choose to participate in Earth's experiment. So again, a call went out. There's a 12th dimensional grid around this physical Earth and all the physical planets that were created and the star systems that were created in the physical planetary body, the water, the trees, all of it, physical bodies. And consciousness came in and chose to incarnate, whether it was they chose to incarnate into a tree, into a whale, into a human body, into an ant, into a bee, into a plant. Consciousness is in everything. So consciousness chooses to go into a plant. Consciousness chooses to go into a bee. Consciousness chooses to go into a tree. Consciousness chooses to go into a human body. Okay, so, and then once you're here playing in this 12th dimensional grid, you're kind of like, oh shit, once you die, once you move out of the physical body and you're like, whoa, that was insane. You have free will to jump back in or exit the 12th dimensional grid or stay in the 12th dimensional grid on another planetary body or another star system or whatever and participate there. It's fair game. It's like, oh geez, what do I want to do again? We're so serious about this human experience, right? And it's really just this magical game. All right, the 8 laws are: number 1, the Galactic Federation of Light are Earth's guardians. So Earth as a consciousness and the Galactic Federation of Light, which are hundreds of higher dimensional consciousnesses that are in this kind of group, they have helped Earth design all of this, and they're sort of like the guardians. They're watching over all of it. All of it. All the galactic wars that everyone talks about, all the extra dimensional races that were created, the fall from grace, all of it. It's all being watched over by this group of higher dimensional consciousnesses that have a bad rap, perhaps, or people call them dark false light or whatever, but take it with a grain of salt. It's called the Galactic Federation of Light, and they're Earth's guardians. Number 2, there's a 12th dimensional energetic grid around the Earth's experiment. And again, this 12th dimensional grid, I haven't gone into it. I'll probably go into it in another episode, but it is holding the entire experiment together. And consciousness enters into that 12th dimensional grid and is then experimenting and experiencing this whole experiment. So you could literally be as a consciousness on a different planet or a different star system, right? And you're still inside the 12th dimensional grid. Number 3, the light quotient. You as a light quotient, there's a light quotient of your consciousness that exists within the physical form. So there's a percentage of your light, of your consciousness that's inside the physical form. Law number 4 is that light quotient remains consistent. It doesn't change. I'm going to go back to that because those 2 laws are extremely important right now. Law number 5, the consciousness that incarnates into the human body is connected to its light. So it's connected to a higher self, it's connected to a spirit, it's connected directly into source. There's these layers, but it is absolutely, unequivocally connected to God, source. Number 6, the consciousness that incarnates has to vibrate at a 6D frequency or higher. It's a little complicated. Don't really want to go into that one right now, but the one of the ways in which you could participate is that your consciousness had to be at a 6th dimensional frequency. Number 7, source or God is held within the physical form. So not only are you a soul, not only are you inside a physical form as a soul and as a spirit, but there is an aspect, there is a spark of God inside the physical body. Every physical body has a spark of God or source, whatever you want to call it. So not only is the physical body connected, right? There's this cord, sort of energetic cord connecting every single human body to the purest aspect of who they are. It's just, if you were to look around and have access to energy, you would see billions of cords of light. It's fascinating. But there is a spark of God inside every physical form. And number 8 is that the earth, the planetary body, cannot be physically destroyed. It's a really powerful universal law. The physical earth plane cannot be destroyed. It cannot, it will exist until its experience and experiment is done. There have been many, many times in these millions of years that Earth has been doing this, that humanity and higher dimensional consciousnesses have tried to physically destroy the planet, and the Galactic Federation is that is the only time the Galactic Federation or any higher dimensional consciousness that's watching over the Earth can intervene, can interfere. They can only interfere if the Earth is trying to be physically destroyed. So the two laws that I really want to talk about today. Do you see how this could literally be weeks and weeks and weeks? Like, we could be sitting and studying this book forever. Like, I don't know why they call it false light. I mean, they call me false light. They call a lot of people false light. I don't know why. You'd have to ask them. Um, okay, so number 3 is that the light quotient exists within the physical form. So earlier, Amy or Jill or somebody asked, how did we get into the physical body? Okay, so you're a consciousness. And let's say you're floating around, okay, I'm just going to throw out your consciousness is existing in a 9th dimensional field, okay? And you hear, so to speak, this energetic call that says, yo, Earth's going to do this crazy experiment. It's moving into physicality. You don't want to miss this. Come down into this physical planetary experiment. You can choose what physical form you want to come into. It's going to be incredible. Now, millions of years later, we're like, pretty sure this isn't incredible any longer. Like, pretty sure this sucks. Ain't nothing incredible about this. I got tricked, and now I got looped in, and now I'm all in as a light worker, and I'm not sure how I got here, right? But originally, the call went out millions of years ago, and you're floating around in the quantum field as 8th dimensional consciousness, and you're like, you know what? That would be kind of cool. Let me move my awareness, my consciousness into a physical form, because as an 8th dimensional field, as an 8th dimensional frequency, right? You're not in a physical form. You're just energy. Imagine having an opportunity to take an aspect of your energy and move it into a physical form and let that physical form move you. It's incredible. What? I'm going to go for a ride? Hell yeah. And experience physicality? Absolutely. And so the way that it worked is that the body was very dense. So the body's even denser now. But in a 5th dimension, the body is very dense. It's very physical. It can only hold a certain percentage of your light as that 8th dimensional consciousness. Okay. And so It has to have they had to practice figuring out how much light quotient could be held in the physical body where it didn't destroy the physical body, didn't destroy the organs, it didn't destroy the body could maintain itself with this light. And so they had to literally they had to practice putting light into the body, consciousness into the body, percentages of it to see what how much percentage of this consciousness it could hold. And that percentage, it started off around 6% to 11%. Um, sorry, that's in the third dimension. In the uh, fifth dimensional body, it was like 16% or something. It was pretty high. Um, 11 to 16% or something. I can't remember the actual number. And that's how much of your consciousness could move into the body. And that is what we would call a soul. Right? That's what the soul enters in as, a percentage of your consciousness. And so you're always connected to this consciousness, which is connected to God or source, right? And that light quotient never falters. It never changes. It doesn't go down. It doesn't go up. It's solid and it is consistent. It's not evolving. It's not shifting. It's not changing. And it is who you are. It's your essence. It's an aspect of your essence. And it's the one going for the ride. It's the one that you're waking up into. It's the one that chose to come in. It's the one that chose the Akashic record and all the experiences. It's the one that knows what it's doing here. It's the one that chose the blueprint. It's the one that remembers all of this. It's the one that's connected to higher dimensional consciousnesses. And it's the one that travels all over the place in the dream state. It's the one that has all this awareness and knowledge. That's your light quotient, the percentage of your light, your soul, or whatever word you want to use, but it's truly what has dropped in as soul. It's the badass that you are. It's the one that says, "Oh my God, I'm here again." Right? Wow. Why did I do this again? You're waking up into that awareness. Okay. So that's chapter 1. Any questions? I don't know if there's 2 galactic federations of light. I don't think so. Whew! That was fun. Are light quotients related to the number of previous lives lived? No, light quotient is literally a percentage of your consciousness that just moves into the physical body. And depending upon the frequency of the physical form, that's going to dictate how much of the percentage of light can come in. So when many of us, you and I, if you incarnated between 1920 and 1980, okay, somewhere around there, our physical bodies were in a different frequency than they are now. So we brought in probably between 6 to 11% of our light quotient because of the frequency the body was at when it was birthed. The light codes could only hold a certain frequency based on the frequency of the planet. Okay. Now, as the frequency of the planet increases, the frequency of the body starts to increase. They go hand in hand. We'll talk about that later, how the human body impacts the earth body and the earth body impacts the planetary body. But between 1980 and probably 2000, the body started increasing. And so it could hold more of the light quotient. And so it went up to like 9 to 13%. And as the light quotient became a higher percentage, we started noticing more people having ADHD or ADD or autism. All these way we describe these children with these certain labels, and it all started between 1980 to 2000, somewhere around there, right? It's because the body was holding a higher frequency and more of the light quotient could come in. Now, when more light comes into the body, it becomes more difficult to be inside a body. And so there's There's attention deficit. There is the inability to process information. There, you can't sit still. You can't. It's really difficult to move emotion through you. It's intense. It's the vibration is super high. Kids are remembering things that we never remembered. Then you go from the year 2000, give or take, to now. The body's in a much higher frequency. Now kids are coming in, babies are coming in, and they're holding like 11 to 15% of their light quotient. They have much more of their awareness, their light in the body. If you have more of your consciousness in a body, you're going to be much more connected. You're going to have a much more difficult time being in the body. You're going to know things that other people don't know. You're going to have skills that you don't even know how you have, right? And this, we're seeing this more and more. You're going to have more and more labels coming out, more and more, take this drug, take that drug, all these symptoms that we're seeing. And it's truly is as simple as the percentage of light quotient that's coming into the physical form. You can say, and it is true, that it has a lot to do with other things in the physical environment that we won't talk about. Absolutely, that can trigger certain um, issues with children, foods, vaccines, environment, what they're drinking, what they're breathing. But the majority of what we are seeing is based on the light quotient that's coming into the physical form. And so it's really important to understand this, because when you start to understand this, you realize there's nothing wrong with you. You're not emotion. You're not thought. You're not behavior. You're not trauma. You're none of it. You are inside a car that's experiencing all this. And so it becomes this game changer as you start to remember this more and more. It's so, so important that we start remembering this stuff. Because although it doesn't take away your pain or your suffering or any of that, right? It reminds you over and over again of this innate knowingness that you have inside of you. It's in your cells, it's in your DNA, it's in your light codes that are inside and created your physical form, and your soul is holding. It's an activation over and over again. Your body just knows. Your awareness knows. It's like, wait, I don't know why, but this makes sense, and I don't understand any of it. I have no idea what she just said, but I think it's my body resonates. There's a resonance. There's always, Rita, there's always outliers, right? So you could have been born in 1954 and brought in a lot more of your light, perhaps. Thank you for that super chat. Okay. That's it for now. That is episode 1. Is there any other questions before we go? I can't believe it's already 3:30. Do you know why energy Wes, hold on a second. Do you know why energy spends? All consciousness is energy. It's natural. It's the natural state. It's like, why does water flow? The same question. Why does water flow? Why does it move, right? There's a physics to it. It's the same with energy. As soon as it pops out, it naturally starts, it's naturally spinning. It just spins. I don't know why that is. I don't know why, if it spins faster, it moves into a higher frequency and dimension, and when it moves slower, it moves into a lower dimensional frequency. It's just how energy works. And if you remember being energetic, you'll remember, right? Thank you, Emmy Lou, for the super chat. And when physicists and chemists and all of them, when they spin energy, it shifts. It shifts. You can do it yourself. They call it the centripetal force or something. Thank you, Michelle, for the super chat. You guys are so sweet. I think it's called centripetal force. So basically, if you take something like this book, It's very easy to test this. If you took this book, okay, and you started and you had it on like like a yarn, a piece of yarn or a whatever, it's hanging on something, okay? And you started to spin it and you started spinning this rope that it was on. This book would start to disappear. It wouldn't be this physical anymore. You take anything and you start spinning it really fast, the physicality of it will start to dissolve. That is energy increasing in frequency, becoming lighter. You look at a tire wheel, okay, on a bike or on a car, and it's very physical. It's got 12, 13 spikes. You can see it. But as soon as it starts to move and spin, the things disappear. You sit in a chair and you spin. That's increasing frequency. I heard someone once say, you increase your frequency when you slow down your spin. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Just test it out. Spin something, increase its frequency, see what happens. Everything's right in front of us. Everything is. It's like, holy shit. Everything is physics, and everything is it's all like the answers are right in front of us. What are you feeling? How is your body being experienced? Right? Are you currently experiencing the acclimation, assimilation, tapping, and anchoring? I don't know if you are. Are you? You know, it's like, what are you seeing around you? Are people waking up? Are people not? What are you experiencing on this planet? Is there a part of you that knows that you're here for some specific reason? I'm just sharing with you a download of your history and of the knowledge you hold. The proof is in your experience. Have you heard of higher dimensional consciousnesses? Like, have you like this is your proof of this book is your life. It's supposed to be simple. This is complex information. It's mind-blowingly complex information that is simplified so that the density of our experience can remember the complexity of this information. And the way that you can test any information that's given to you by anyone is through your own experience. It's the best way to test information. Is there a resonance? What does my body do when I hear it? And what am I experiencing in my own world that can validate what is being said? Yeah, I think there is a slowing down where when you slow down, you can like it's like a thank you, Susan. Thank you, Susan, for that super chat. When you slow down, then there can be it's almost like a access into like a portal or a black hole almost, right? But then the natural process of how energy works is it speeds up. It increases in frequency and moves into higher dimensions. Typically, the natural way in which energy moves. Rarely does it slow down. And now here's the interesting thing though, okay? What happens to energy as it increases in frequency is it feels like there's a slowing down. So in your own experience, as the body increases in frequency, your consciousness in that higher frequency is going to feel slower. It's going to feel quieter. It's going to feel like it's slowing down. It's not going to feel like it's speeding up and doing this. It's going to feel like there's the energy has actually increased. I mean, that's why everybody talks about higher frequencies. I want to feel higher frequencies. I want to feel the emotion of peace. It's got a higher frequency when you test it, right? Higher frequency means it's spinning faster. But spinning faster doesn't mean that you're moving faster. Spinning faster just means an increase in that frequency. But the way we experience it as consciousness can feel very calm. But there has to be that process of acclimation, integration, assimilation, where you feel out of whack, you feel wonky. Right, a lot of what we're experiencing right now is this feeling of like moving in and out of different dimensional fields, which feels very wonky. It feels like, wait, did I do that? Did I experience this? What am I feeling? Did that happen? Did it not happen? I feel like I'm like floating around, like I feel like I'm here, but I'm not here. Like all these like really interesting experiences when you're moving in and out. I've never studied anyone's work. Okay, you guys, I am going now. This was a lot of fun. Um, I'm exhausted. I love you. I'll see you next Thursday, 2 p.m. And we're going to be talking about how humanity fell from the fifth dimension down into the third dimension. So we're skipping a couple chapters. And we're going to talk about how humanity fell after millions of years from the fifth dimension down into the third dimension. So join us because this is like a movie. It's like we're in a movie and we're like, ooh, okay, what's next? Eating the popcorn, remembering our history. Next Thursday, sorry. Thursday, next Thursday. And if you haven't gotten the book, you get the link. The link down below is in the description. The link is in the description down below for the book, the audiobook, and the physical book. I highly recommend the audiobook. But get the physical book as well, because when you hold it, it's like, I don't know, there's something about the physical book, but get the audiobook so you can listen to it. Next Thursday, 2 p.m. How in the heck did we go from a 5D to a 3D? And honestly, when I read this book for the audio, when I did the audio for this book, because I did the audio myself, I was like, oh my God, this is like, even when I wrote it, I realized that it's like a movie. It's like a Star Wars movie. You know, our history is like a movie and it's just so fascinating. It's so entertaining. It's like, it's a juicy movie that you're like, tell me more. What else happened? Right. And it's not scary. I mean, definitely when we start talking about the fourth dimensional races and stuff like that, it can get a little scary, but it's not designed to create fear. It's not designed to create confusion. It's not designed to create divide or anger, any of that. It's like, what? Oh my God. Spectacular. Now go off and be human, because that's what you came here to do, is to be human and to enjoy life and to feel everything and to find gratitude, all the other stuff. I love you. I'll see you next Thursday at 2 p.m. And yeah, till then, be gentle with yourself. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. California time. Yes, I channeled it. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.